Hey, what is up, y'all? Happy weekend. Hopefully you guys are having a good one out there. And if you're not, I hope that your day does get better soon. Sorry I've been rogue, as per the usual, kind of predictable, because apparently this is a trend for me. But I am pregnant again, and first trimester kicked my ass, as per the usual. So I am back in the swing of things now. But yeah, if you guys miss my voice, sorry, here we are. Also, as per the usual, I get sick when I'm pregnant, and then you can't take basically any cold meds or anything. So you just kind of suffer for what feels like 3 times as long as normal. Anyway, doesn't matter. I saw a post on Instagram the other day that kind of helped put things into perspective for me. And it said something along the lines of, life is going to feel hard and overwhelming for you right now if you have a moral compass. And that's also kind of the trenches I've been in lately, because it's just, I don't know, man. I haven't been feeling very cash money lately. And honestly, doing some little self-introspection, I haven't really been listening to my own advice lately. The advice I give y'all, I have not been listening to it. I've been kind of ignoring it. Because our society is such shit right now, and every aspect of our, not even to be dramatic, but every aspect of our democracy is sort of crumbling, just right in front of our eyes. We're just repeating history, but people they have to be choosing to ignore it, right? There are a lot of people, from what I've heard, people are just like, I can't take the news right now, so I don't even look at the news, which is super fair. And I'm teetering on that line. I'm like, okay, do I want to be aware of the current events, or do I want to maintain my sanity? Because you can't do both at the same time right now, is what it feels like. And so yeah, I'm kind of losing faith in humanity just a little. And also I've been feeling really guilty too, because people's lives are getting demolished. We're watching it happen on the streets. One of my students went AWOL for, I'm not even gonna lie, kind of weeks. And I'm like, buddy, what's going on? And then a couple weeks ago, he finally emailed me and he was like, hey, I'm so sorry. My family's we're from Kuwait and Qatar, and all these things that are happening over there right now, and my family is not okay, and I can't go get them, and they can't obviously just hop over here, and I'm scared to say anything because what if they revoke my visa or my school stuff, or because I think he uses FAFSA, whatever, it doesn't matter. And he was like, I don't know what to do, I can't focus on schoolwork, yada yada yada, I don't know if my family is safe, I can't talk to them. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Yes, take your extension on your lit review assignments. That's minimum concern right now. And then, I've got close friends too, family basically, that are really worried and concerned about their family members with permanent resident status because of the current climate. So they aren't risking any travel or anything just in case, because you never know what's going to happen. And that's real stress, right? And I just feel so guilty because I'm just sitting over here in my privilege parlor where I don't have to worry about that. And I feel like there's nothing I can really do to help. I feel like there's nothing I can do. So I kind of put a little pause on my podcast because it was just feeling like the smallest drop in the ocean. It wasn't making a difference. And I just felt very helpless and useless. But then I was reading on social media, very academic, yes, I know. And I've been seeing stuff too about how parenting, especially with all of the riots and the protests that were happening a little bit ago, parenting, they were saying, is the best form of silent protest, and decolonizing parenting styles are so impactful because we're affecting the next generation of critical thinkers and social challengers and all that good stuff. And one of the posts was like, hey, there are multiple ways to dismantle the patriarchy. One of those options was to keep putting your voice out there no matter what. We all know the stats of women especially being interrupted. I want to say it's 33% more than men. And what's also wild with those studies is that the men didn't perceive that. So when you ask the women, did you both speak for an equal amount of time? The men said yes, and the women said no. And then they ran it back and did the word for word stats. And it was like, yeah, women were getting interrupted 33% more often than men. But the wild thing is that the men did actually perceive that there were equal amounts of communication from both sides. And that's where the issue is, right? Big issue, yes. The women getting interrupted is the big issue. But even bigger than that, underneath the surface level, is that the perception was that it was equal. And it was not. And so, I'm seeing all these things, and these posts are all saying, don't lose your voice, don't get discouraged, keep putting your content out there, keep creating, keep documenting, just keep putting your voice out there no matter what. Like, don't let that happen that you're always getting interrupted. Don't let that happen that you're getting silenced. Keep creating, keep talking, keep using your voice. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, I feel like that is what I would tell y'all. And that's what I tell my students. And that's what I tell people that do talk to me and they're like, I don't know what to do. I feel discouraged in this scenario. But I wasn't listening to my own advice. So shame on me. But I'm just going to start again, right? I'm going to follow my own advice that I give y'all all the time and bring back my creative outlet and keep voicing my thoughts. Because best case scenario, I can help someone realize, hey, these microaggressions are not cool, or at least validate some of y'all's experiences where you don't feel so alone or feel like you're overreacting or feel like you're the only one that's going through this, because you're not, right? I think that's the saddest part about this podcast that I've heard from my listeners is that they're like, yeah, that happens to me too, or yeah, I've heard that a million times. And I think that's kind of heartbreaking because it's like, dang, like this really is an issue for so many people and it's still an issue in 2025 and it's not getting better. So let's get into it. As always, let's talk about some difficult topics. I've realized lately from interactions with family and some other people that the normal average white person still views race as a swear word. They still tiptoe around saying African American or Black communities or other racially driven thoughts and themes. And I'm here to argue that there are two types of racism, subtle and blatant. No big argument there, right? But hear me out. Blatant racism, we know. That's easy to call out. It's clear cut. That's KKK, that's segregation, that's I won't talk to a Black person, or I won't let them in my house, or I won't sell them anything in my store. That's clear cut. It's easy to shake our fingers at that and say, shame on you for being racist. But the subtle racism, dude, the subtle racism is what's kicking our asses right now. That's the real kicker. That's the real poison that affects our whole society today, still. It bleeds into our educational system, looking at you English teachers who strictly adhere to standard American English and traditional white male authors and voices. And I'm looking at teachers who are quick to give white kids with behavioral issues a break because of their home life or this is going on or that's going on. But Black kids who quote unquote act out are just troublemakers. They're delinquents and undeserving of some leniency. It bleeds into our healthcare. Remember my past episodes about racial inequality in healthcare? We're less likely to believe Black people are in pain. They're less likely to get adequate pain management treatment. They're 7 times more likely to suffer complications in labor and childbirth, sometimes even leading to maternal death. It bleeds into the workforce, where we see lower promotion and leadership opportunities for subtle racist reasons, like lack of professionalism because they have braids or dreads or use different dialects. It bleeds into our economy because of predatory housing and car loans and interest rates. Don't even get me started on the gentrification of the housing market. Don't get me started on the war against immigrants or anyone who even looks like they're an immigrant. It's everywhere. And I do hope that you all are aware of it. And maybe y'all get some of these comments too. Maybe it's just me. But a lot of people around me are very quick to condemn me for throwing the R word, i.e. racist. They're very quick to condemn me for throwing that word around. And they're so quick to say, no, it's just a joke. You're just sensitive. You're just so liberal now and snowflake. Blah, 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 right? They're so fast to jump to that and jump on the offense. But I'm going to tell you some examples and you tell me what you think, okay? We recently went back to Minnesota. I know that was our first mistake. And honestly, it was really eye-opening. It's a perfect example of what I'm talking about when I talk about subtle racism and microaggressions. So, okay, it's me and my daughter on my lap and some family members were sitting around the table. My little niece and nephew are there. They're about 9 and 7 years old, give or take, question mark. This is an important piece. Daniel was out running at the time. Daniel was not there, and that's very important. So we're just talking. We're like, yep, let's talk about the plan for tomorrow. We'll go to the lake. We'll get some ice cream. Everyone will have fun. And Daniel is lactose intolerant, right? My family has finally actually acknowledged that that's a real thing, that he's not just making up or being dramatic about. They finally actually understand, like, oh, that's a real thing. Because my family, I'm not even kidding, I'm not even being facetious, they actually see lactose intolerance as A, something fake that you make up and something liberal, and B, that it's just not real. They see it as you being melodramatic and liberal. But they finally understand. And so we're talking about getting ice cream, going to the ice cream shop. And one of my family members was like, oh, for Daniel, we'll get him some of his stuff, his soji. And I'm like, soji? I'm like, soju? And they're like, no, the little frozen ice cream ball things. I'm like, oh, you mean mochi. That's actually Japanese, but yeah, he does like mochi. And this is all happening, right? This is like bing, bang, boom, banter. So I'm like, no, that's actually Japanese, I think. But yeah, sounds good. And my other family member was like, oh, Japanese, Korean, they're all the same thing. It's all Asian, it's all the same thing. Which honestly, I could pause right there and probably do a whole episode on. But I won't. That's not the point of this story. Same time, my other family member, I'm not proud of this. So my other family member, right after that remark, they pull their eyes back into little slants and say, do they look like this? Then they're all the same. Ha, ha, ha. They're laughing. The other family adult is laughing. The niece and nephew start giggling because they see their parent doing this. So then they start pulling their eyes back and laughing and doing like this like sing-song mocking thing in front of me holding my daughter, right? And at this point, because tensions were already a little high from like tiny little seemingly insignificant microaggressions from the whole trip that we were there. Keep in mind also, we've only been there at this point for less than 24 hours. So very short amount of time. This is happening, right? And so recap, everyone's laughing, pulling their eyes back into slants. Ha ha ha. My niece and nephew are doing it too. I'm holding my daughter. And my niece was right next to me. She was like kind of in my bubble. And I'm like, stop. No. Like, don't do that. Don't make fun of that. And I'm like, keep in mind, this is a 7-year-old, right? And so I'm explaining this to a 7-year-old. And I'm saying, no, don't do that. And she's like, why not? Why not? I'm like, because you're making fun of how they look. They can't control how they look. Why are you don't make fun of them? And I was like, you're making fun of Mina. That's how Mina's eyes look. Why are you making fun of her? And she's like, and I'm like, no. And I was, talking to my niece, my 7-year-old niece. I'm like, do you want someone making fun of how you look? And then she got all sad and somber and she's like, no. And I'm like, exactly. You wouldn't like that if someone made fun of how you look. So don't make fun of other people. And then of course the parent and the other family member, adult, they were kind of like, well, but it's just a joke. And I'm like, no, it's not a joke. It's not funny. And it was actually kind of a cool moment because then both of the adults got like quiet because they knew they were in the wrong. They knew that that was messed up to do. And I think they could deep down subconsciously see the fault in their actions. And so they were literally being like chastised like a 7-year-old, and they had no good defense. And full disclosure, I think I've mentioned it on this podcast before, way, way, way in the beginning, but I have kind of gotten into fights with these people before, and I have explicitly called them racists to their face. Like, I blatantly, directly said, this is racist, you are racist. And of course, they took it very personally, and it became a fight, and then we went however many months without talking, and even now they will passive-aggressively bring up comments like, see, we aren't racist, we have an Oktoberfest, we have culture, blah, blah, blah. But this mochi example is exactly what I mean when I say that they have racist tendencies. The whole vibe of this Minnesota trip, and again, keep in mind, this trip lasted less than 48 hours to include sleeping times, right? Very short trip. But the whole vibe was one of like, hey, we forgive you for marrying a Korean and having a kid, but like we'll allow it, but don't speak Korean in my household. Don't mention anything Korean focused. Don't sing Korean lullabies. Don't read Korean books to her. Don't talk about the Korean dress she wore for her birthday. Don't talk about your trip to Korea. Literally just don't be Korean. That was a whole vibe. I can't make this up. So we got official family photos done in Korea, and they were beautiful, right? They were honestly gorgeous. They were perfect. It was the whole family, right? So obviously me, Daniel, and Mina, and we were all in like the matching traditional outfits. Really great pictures. And you guys know me. We never do, like we never do pictures ever, really. We're just very bad at taking pictures because we're always like, let's live in the moment. And so that's not like an instinctual, like, hey, whip out our phones, get the perfect picture. And so there are a lot of times where we will do cool family events and we just forget to get pictures. And especially not like professional organized photo shoot pictures. I didn't do it when I was pregnant. We just don't really. But we did it for our Korea trip, kind of as a celebration of our wedding, like the traditional wedding photos, kind of just as like a first birthday thing for Mina, because it was pretty soon after her first birthday. And like I mentioned before, the first birthday in the Korean tradition is very important. And then also kind of like a, hey, we're actually pregnant, so these are some of our last pictures as a family of 3 before we become a family of 4, kind of also just because, right? Doesn't matter the reasoning, they were gorgeous pictures. And my family, they're all pretty distanced geographically. My parents are in Minnesota, my siblings are scattered everywhere else across the country. So it's not like we're seeing each other every single weekend. And so sort of as a peace offering, whatever, I was like, hey, we got these pictures back, the edited studio ones, they look so nice, here you go. And I sent them to her, and she was kind of like, oh yeah, wow, cool. And I was trying to be nice, do sort of olive branch thing, and I'm like, hey, let me know your favorites, I'll have an album made for you and send it to you, so that way you can have them. And because honestly, like back home, the old grandma and grandpas from church and the aunts and uncles, they never see us. And especially if they don't have social media, they never see pictures of us. They don't see pictures of the kids, because we only go home so rarely. And if we do, we're only there for such a short amount of time. And so we don't see all these extended family members. And so I'm like, normal grandma, grandpa things is they would want to, have these pictures so they can show people when they come over. And I'm like, I'll make you an album of these official family photos. I can't make this up. And she said no. She literally was like, no, thank you. No, we don't want them. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Like, reach out. What other reason could that have been beyond just an unacceptance of Korean and Asian culture? I got passive-aggressive comments at this same 48-hour trip. Passive-aggressive comments about whether they were obligated to come visit when the new baby comes. And I was like, well, when you phrase it that way, no, you're not obligated to come out here and see the baby. And so I was like, in my head, I'm like, like, why would you not want to see your new grandkid? But also in my head, I'm like, why would you phrase it that way? Like, how did you expect me to interpret that and receive that message? But I'm like, okay, let me give you an out. And so I'm like, no, you're not obligated to. And I tried to make some excuses for him because the baby is due middle of winter, like the very end of December, early January. And so it is going to, if it's the same type of winter as last year, it is going to be snowy, might be icy, it's going to be cold. And so I gave him an easy out. I was like, no, you guys aren't obligated to drive down here. And then I'm like, oh, you can just solving problems. Classic Maggie, I was like, oh, you can just come for the 100 day. My mom immediately was like, no, we won't be coming for that. And I'm like, Mom, I haven't even told you the month that it is yet. You don't even know when. You can't even use it as an excuse of, oh, we're busy. But then I'm like, you know what? Let me stir this pot. Because now I am kind of bitter. And I'm like, I want you to verbalize, like, kind of call them out, make them call themselves out. So I'm like, why not? Why don't you want to come to the 100 day? And she goes, well, we wouldn't come for that sort of thing. And I'm like, okay. And then they go, we would come for a baptism, but we're not coming for that. And I'm like, all right, cool. So you're officially uninvited. If it wasn't clear before, it definitely is clear now. And so, yeah, it's just racism doesn't just surface with refusing to serve a Black customer or something like that. It's also not being accepting of any other culture. It's just blatantly refusing to have pictures in your home of your family because they're in Asian culture attire in an Asian country. It's also not going for a birthday celebration party. Let's be real, that's what 100 day is. It's just an excuse to be with family and eat food and have a celebration. And they just, nope, we want none of that. And I'm sorry, but you can't tell me that's not also racism. And so, yeah, if you're othering and pushing other ethnicities to the outside and actively refusing to accept them into your life, that is subtle racism. And honestly, real hard truth here. So be honest with me and yourself. If you were to date or marry someone outside of your race, if you brought a Black guy home, would your family blink an eye? If you adopted a Black baby instead of a white baby, assuming in this context, obviously assuming that you're white, would your family and friends blink an eye? If your kids started dating a Black kid and brought them home, what would your gut reaction be? If there is any hesitation, if there's even the slightest inkling of uncomfortability in your gut when you think of this scenario, there's your answer. That is your answer on subtle racism and unconscious bias. Is that comfy to sit with? No, of course not. But it's important to address, because if you're teaching your kids that everyone should be treated equally with love and respect, if you're on board that KKK is bad and we shouldn't segregate restaurants and bathrooms, that also should include the microaggressions we don't want to face within ourselves. And what have I always said from the jump? We can't get comfy with these topics unless we talk about it. I have my students do these group work exercises. Basically, I split them all up into groups. I give each group a different article or chapter of a text to read. They, kind of read it together, and then they present some form of a visual aid, like a Google Doc, PowerPoint, whatever. And then they'll come up to the front of the class, and then they basically teach the class like a little mini lesson about what that text was saying, its ultimate message, purpose, yada, yada, yada. So that way all of the class is getting the content of that text and article, but they're only having they get the info of 5 articles, but they're only having to read 1. They get to practice their presentation and communication skills, team working skills, collaboration, digital media, all of that good stuff, right? Anyway, one of these groups got an article from Royster. It's called When the First Voice You Hear Isn't Your Own, and it's all about authorship and just that author's voice and so on and so forth. And it was wild because I just randomized the groups, but it happened to be that the people, it was also a small group that day. I think there was only three. Yeah, I think there were only 3 students in the group. Normally it's about 5. And there's only 3. And this article was it's more focused on BIPOC authors and how we do teach standard American English, and we kind of don't stray from that traditional white male voice and yada yada, and how any other dialects or other cultural intonations in the text make it seem less professional, and all those, the subtle racisms that are in our educational system. And it just happened that this day, the group that got this text, it was 3 white kids. And I was kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, dang, we'll see how this goes though, because the kids in that group, they were pretty smart, and I'm like, okay, I think, they'll be fine covering this. And then they presented, and it was the most, I almost was like, okay, I need to reteach this, because this is not, what they presented was so whitewashed and not the message at all whatsoever of the text. They literally barely scraped the surface, dodged so much of it. They didn't even talk about authorship or author's voice. I'm like, bro, come on. Utter flop. And it was just so painfully clear that they were by no means comfortable talking about race or literally saying the word African American. Because I saw the text too. Obviously, I've read the text. I know it inside and out. And so I'm watching what they're presenting and the quotes that they're adding and looking at the original text in front of me at the same time. And I would watch them skirt around any topic of African American authors. And literally, they would not say the word African American. And it shouldn't, and I could also see how uncomfortable they were. And so I'm like, okay, let me save these kids, whatever. And I stepped in and we corrected. And I'm like, yep, okay, good job, guys. Let's move on to the next group. And it shouldn't be like that. Race isn't a swear word. African American isn't a swear word. It shouldn't be something that we are dodging saying out loud, right? Because by dodging the topic and avoiding any and all discussion on the topic, it not only prevents us from learning and expanding our understanding, first and foremost, but it also indirectly enforces this idea that other races are inferior, bad, lesser than, etc., etc. It's reinforcing those unaccepting, unsupportive vibes that I see back home with any other culture besides white culture, because it's so foreign. And we've taught our kids not to acknowledge it or talk about it out loud, like it's something shameful or dirty or not fit for public consumption. And that's part of the problem. And that's why we have such a hard time now being open and understanding of other cultures. And we don't even want to learn about it, because we feel like it's a swear word. We feel like it's something we shouldn't say out loud, like it's a taboo subject, and it's not. And that's why. And so when I say, yeah, we have to talk about these things in order for it to become normal and accepted, that's what I'm talking about. Grown-ass adults reading a text by an African American author that's talking about African American authors and the challenges they face in the publishing and writing world and the academic world. White kids, and I say kids, they're basically my age, white adults should be able to say that out loud without feeling uncomfortable or feeling like it's a swear word. And that's what's so wild to me, is because we're so far from where we should be. Yes, we've made progress, but it's just, we're not there yet. Dude, we are not there yet. Because sometimes, it's not often, But I have also gotten comments from white people saying like, no, that's not really a thing anymore. Like, we've progressed. Like, yeah, no, we're good. And I'm like, no, we're not. We're not good. We are not there. We are not the allies that we think we are. We are not making the progress that we think we're making. We are not supportive like we think we are. Because again, are we reading BIPOC authors? No. Are we following BIPOC influencers? No. Are we consuming anything by people other than white? No. That's literally where it starts. Like, we are so sheltered and we are so whitewashed, just zero seasoning on the boiled chicken, whitewashed. That's why we're in this pickle. It all starts from there. Like, if you are uncomfortable saying the word African American in an African American context, that's the problem, dude. We can't even say the word out loud. How do you possibly expect them to be okay dating a black person or dating someone outside of their race? And let alone marrying them, bringing them home, having a biracial family, teaching the kids about biracial and mixed cultures and ethnicities. Like, no fucking wonder we're in this predicament of our country right now where people that are on permanent resident visas are terrified that they're going to be abducted and sent who knows where to which concentration camp. Because am I maybe going overboard with this? Maybe. But also, we've seen the pictures of inside the camps at El Salvador. We've seen the bodies, the shaved guys, bodies stacked on top of each other. We're hearing now of like, hey, health concerns and people are dying and starving and malnutrition and dehydration and all these things, right? Of the guys. I've seen clips of ICE agents taking the moms away from the kids. We've seen them taking the kids, right? We're seeing these clips. These are not adulterated clips. Have you seen any inside of a female or a children's concentration camp? I haven't. Where are they taking them? I don't know. Because Alligator Alcatraz, the El Salvador camps, like all those ones that we're seeing, those are the male concentration camps. And if you're uncomfortable with the term concentration camp, good. Look up a Webster dictionary entry of definition of concentration camps. Read a history book. If you're uncomfortable with that term, maybe you should also be uncomfortable with the context that it's happening in, that you're inherently enabling, right? Like, I'm not even going to get into that because it is a concentration camp. Whatever you want to call it, if it helps you sleep better at night to say a detainee camp or whatever, a housing center, detention facility, it's just all glorified, watered down versions to dehumanize what's happening. Semantics are important. Words do matter, right? So I will keep calling it a concentration camp. But I'm just saying, we've seen the inside of the male concentration camps. Where are the females? Where are the kids going? They're going somewhere. Because they're not staying in their homes. That's for damn sure. They're not staying with their families. They're going somewhere. I'm just saying that. Like, I don't see those questions being asked. Definitely not answered. But what I'm saying is, this is where it starts. If you can't even talk about it, if you are finding that deep down within yourself, ooh, why do I feel a little squirmy thinking about my kid dating a black kid? That's where you've got to start, dude. Again, is it hard, difficult to sit with? Yes. But look at the circumstances. Look at the repercussions of what happens when we don't sit with that. Look at the potential consequences of our country and our society overall if we don't sit with these difficult thoughts and feelings. That's all I'm saying. This shit does matter. Like, it does actually make a difference. You do have to start somewhere. And maybe you think it's small and insignificant and no, it's not that bad. Then cool, it should be an easy fix to make, huh? It should be an easy life change to implement. If it's not that big of a deal, if it's not so important to say that joke, then maybe you just stop saying that joke. If it's not that big of a deal, if it's just a joke that doesn't mean anything more, then you should have no problem not doing that. You should have no problem not making fun of Asians that have almond-shaped eyes. That shouldn't be an issue for you then to not make fun of them, right? I mean, is that logic flawed? It's, again, always correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's such a simple, easy, insignificant thing and you meant well, if you mean well, then you should be more than happy to jump on avoiding those jokes and those insensitive comments and remarks. That's just, right? That's your logic. If that's how it is, then that's how it is. One last final message from me to y'all. If this doesn't apply to you, awesome, love it, love to hear it. But I will say, if you are hearing other people around you making these sort of jokes and these comments and, oh, well, it's all Asian, so it's all the same, and things like that, please stop it. Please stop that from happening. Just please speak up. I know it's hard, but also, I mean, it's my daughter, right? It's my husband. Like, it's our family members. It's our friends. If we don't speak up for them, who will? Yes, they can speak up for themselves, but also it's clearly not working. People don't listen. We have to just keep saying it until somebody listens. Because I would prefer to not have my daughter grow up where she's made fun of by her immediate family members of what shape her eyes are because of her ethnicity. That would be cool. That would be cool if that could stop happening. Okay, so I plead with you, if you hear these sorts of insensitive comments, remarks, and jokes happening, please just say something. Don't be a bystander, because when you do that, it just enables the behavior. The people making those jokes think that they're fine, because every time they say it and nothing happens, they get validated of, oh, well, yeah, it's just a joke. It's not that. That's normal. Everybody says that, right? Because that's usually the excuse we hear is, oh, everyone says that. Everyone, that's a common, everyone. But we would like to stop everyone from saying that, right? And so it just starts with us. It really does. Okay, that is it for this episode. I love y'all. Take care of each other. Make good choices. Be a decent human being. Point blank, period. Final sentence. Be a decent human being. Think about others, okay? Think about how they would feel. Think about how you would feel if someone made fun of your looks out of something that you cannot control. If you don't love that, then maybe don't make fun of other people's looks and things they can't control. But I know y'all are better than that. We've got this. We are going to keep chugging along. We'll just keep our heads up and we will keep fighting the good fight. And all we can do is hope that one day things will get better. I love y'all. Thank you for listening. I will catch y'all next time. Okay, bye.